Hello, icons. It's Sean Kokoska, and I am so excited that I've got Russell Shaw with us today during our Icon of the Month webinar series. So, Russell, welcome to our webinar.
Thank you, Sean. Nice to be here.
Awesome. Oh, I'm so glad you are. So, gang, what we're going to talk about today is one of the greatest challenges that we all face in this industry, and that is what I call the what, how, and who paradox, meaning one combination of what you do, how you do it, and who you do it with that gets you to this level of success. We already know that it doesn't automatically transform or morph into some better combination of what you do, how you do it, and who you do it with that's going to get you to that next level of success. So we're here with a seasoned veteran, no doubt about that, who's consistently, if you took an average of the number of transactions this guy closes on an annualized basis over the last 10 years, that number's above 300. He hasn't been on a listing presentation himself personally since 2002. He hasn't had a buyer in his own car since 1993. So he's figured out the what, the how, and the who to be consistent in this business. Now, I think you're in for a great treat because he is so charismatic and he is so darn funny that you guys are just going to have a blast with us today. This hour is going to fly right by. So, Russell, tell me, in fact, what I want to do first is I just want to hit it head on and say,
let's not take that first. Okay, go ahead.
If there were one thing, buddy, that you would feel just really great about, knowing that the people who are on this webinar with us right now are going to walk away with to be able to implement and deploy in their business to improve their productivity, their profit, what would that be?
Well, I think the number one thing, obviously, is that everyone who can see me can clearly see that I'm more handsome than you and Todd Crockett. Now, besides that, we're going to take a business thing, because I don't just use my good looks for lining my own pockets or to get women, like someone like Brad Pitt or something like that. No, I'm using my handsomeness for world peace, but and to help children, of course. But the thing that I would look at for real estate that is probably the most important is there's exactly two ways to get customers. And the number one thing is getting customers, getting and keeping customers. Everything else, like all the stuff your broker will tell you about how to write the contract. There are people that don't know how to write contracts. They don't know how to do Binzer response. They don't do all kinds of mechanical things. And you could say, well, they're stupid. Yeah, but they're really good at getting and keeping customers, and they're therefore successful. So the only skill that'll really matter, people think, well, lead conversion. Lead conversion is a companion skill to lead generation. If you were good enough at lead generation, you could actually be sort of awful at lead conversion and still be a screaming success. If you're bad at lead generation, it won't matter how good you are at everything else, you will be a failure. So the most important thing is lead generation. Nothing comes close, nothing. That would be if I had a message, that would be the message. And there are exactly two ways to lead generate. It's not some long, complex list. Either prospecting or marketing. All methods fall into one of those two categories. Prospecting is where you do something to reach out to them, and marketing is where you do something to get them to reach out to you. People who think they're going to get a lot of listings from the internet are mostly dopes. They're not. You can get buyers from the internet, but all of the stuff like Zillow and Zillow and all the Zillow copycats, all that's ever changed is who writes the offer. It hasn't made one single house sell, like the house whether you're going to sell or not sell, with or without Zillow, or Homes or Trulia or whatever, Realtor.com. All that ever changed is which buyer agent brought the deal. Long-term stable success is almost always, there are a few exceptions around the country, like Mitch Reback in Florida, where he's mostly buyer sides, and there are a few exceptions, and Mitch is a great guy. But truthfully, most successful agents who are successful long-term, almost all of them, are listing agents. They have a listing-based business. And learning to list is actually it takes more talent than it does to learn to be a buyer agent. Like a new buyer agent, if you have a lockbox key, you have a car, you have access to MLS, and you don't smell real bad, you're in. That's sort of the qualification. If that weren't true, new agents would never make it. So It's not that you have to work buyers to a point to where you learn the lay of the land, how contracts work, how the deals go together. But once you've learned that, it becomes, if you look at the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book of leads, listings, leverage. And one of the things I learned from Gary, I'm not with KW, I never have been, but you're working at any given time on solving one of those three problems. Like if you have tons of business and you can't manage it all, then your problem is leverage. When I hear agents say, I want to start a team, why? To do what? If you can't lead generate more than you can personally handle, why would someone need to ever come on your team? If they can lead generate, what the hell do they need you for? That's the one thing most agents are failures at, is lead generation. So the idea that someone's going to start a team so that they will have plenty of business, to me is like, I guess you just, if you have nothing to do, then start a big team. But the truth is, the biggest problem most agents have is leads. And when they say, I want to get a lot of listings, well, here's a news flash, go on a lot of listing appointments. And when I hear agents say they list 9 out of 10 or some other idiot stat on listing appointments, I know I'm listening to someone who can't count or knowingly lies or has an ego-based system for arriving at their percentages at the table. I can tell you for 15 consecutive years before the run-up in prices, these numbers changed during the short sale era, but we're back there now. Our percentage of listings taken to listing interviews, and I'll put my numbers up against anybody in the country, we went on thousands of appointments, thousands. Our ratio at the table was right at 56 to 58%. It's right now running about 57%. So for every, it's actually literally for every 1,000 appointments we go on, we're going to take 573 listings. Because some people are nuts. They won't price it correctly. Well, do you want the listing? You want to deal with a crazy person? Seriously. Like, do they want to sell the house? Do they want to sell the house for the most money? Will they demonstrate that by pricing it somewhere close to market? So to me, I always wanted to be a lister, and I truthfully didn't know how to price property. And it was a problem because I could see, if you look, the list price sales price ratio, almost always in our market is real close, unless you're in a goofball thing happy. But if I said consistently over the last 30 years, most of the time, the list price sales price ratio is about 97.5%. Now, why am I saying that? Well, then it's demonstrably true that most agents who take listings, most actually do know how to price property. I want to make this clear. They do know how to price property, and the proof is they take listings that will sell. Now, if you ask one of these people, ask 100 of them, in fact, how do you correctly price the property? See, when I first became a lister, I got 12 listings in a real high overloaded inventory buyer market. I got 12 listings. Well, I remember I sold none of them. And I had people calling me that were mad at me for not selling the listing since I promised I would sell it. I didn't know how to price property, and I didn't know what these other people knew. What I realized when you'd ask them to explain it, you got back an answer that basically amounted to, it's just this knack I had. Now, why am I saying this? Well, it's not that they were incompetent. They were actually competent at pricing property, but they were not competent at teaching how they did it because they didn't know. They somehow were correctly priced. So I had to learn to do that. That was a big thing to be a lister. That was a really big part, an essential part, and where I could learn it well enough to teach it to the other people that work for me, to where we could correctly price property. Because there's no advantage to getting a listing if you can't sell it.
It's true.
And all problems in getting listings are either at the table or getting to the table. Someone who's been on less than 50 appointments has a shitty, listing presentation. And the way I know that, they don't have their sea legs yet. You need to go on. So how do you go back to your question? How does someone get that experience? You go on appointments. If somebody asks me, what do I need to do to be successful? Go on listing appointments would be my answer. Well, how do you get them? I don't know. How are you going to get them? How are you going to get listing appointments? If you say what's important, getting listing appointments. Because if you hear some agent explain how using their fantastic technique you can list 90% of the appointments, well, that's not true, number one, and no one has ever done that. It's different if you only went on 4 or 5 appointments a year and they're all close friends or family, then you can go, yes, I'm fantastic, I'm batting 1,000. But once you go on a lot of appointments, once you start out, you're calling on strangers. Nobody bets those kind of numbers. Nobody ever has, nobody ever will. So if our numbers, and I don't think there's someone that has a lot more experience at the table than we do over the years, if those are our numbers, what's it going to be like for a new agent calling on strangers? If they're literally door knocking or cold calling or trying to follow up on Zillow leads of somebody who's identified themselves as a possible seller that's been swarmed by 50 or 60 agents. If that's the people they're calling on, what are the odds that they're going to even come close to our numbers? You understand? They might get 1 in 5 or 1 in 6 initially, and they'll think they're failing when they do that. When in fact, they would be fantastically successful if they're new, because they haven't really learned what to say at the table when someone says something startling, like, we didn't want to pay 6%.
Right. No doubt about it. So you talk about marketing, you talk about lead generation. So let's just say I'm that newer agent and maybe my skill set isn't there. Maybe my knowledge isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
In your opinion, is the fastest way for them to increase their skill set, their knowledge, to improve their results?
The fastest way, again, it would be, to me, it's sort of like learning to ride a bike. If you say, like, did I, back in the day, learn a lot of valuable information by going to Star Power, learning Star Power script, what were other stars saying at the table. Some of the stuff seemed lunatic. Some of it was like, oh my God, that's fantastic. Did I learn some stuff that I use to this day? Yes, absolutely. To find out what to say, but really the acid test, and the only thing that's going to matter is go on appointments. Go call on some customers. If the only 2 ways to get customers is prospecting or marketing, even if you had a big bunch of money to spend on marketing, I would tell you, please don't do that. Please don't spend it. Don't get a TV ad. Don't get a radio ad. You will burn through your money so fast you won't believe it, and it won't get you any business because you don't know what to say in that ad. And if all you do for your ad is just simply copy someone else, how do you know it's even working for them? There's agents that have enough money to piss away $25,000 on some stupid idea, and it didn't work. Then they stop doing it. You watch them do it. Well, I'll just copy their ad. Yes, I used to try that. It's not a viable method. If you learn what the go buttons are for sellers by calling on sellers, you'll have it for real. And the advantage of prospecting is that if you don't know what the go button is for that particular customer, you can find out pretty darn quick by just saying a bunch of different stuff, and you find something, oh, they seem to like that. Say more of that.
Yep, no doubt about it. So Russell, tell me, what has been your best marketing idea since you started in this business?
It'd have to be radio and television ads. That would have to be. We were the first, I know, to have a successful radio ad.
Now, was it successful right from the beginning, or did you have to split test that to find the right messaging?
Let me be more clear. I had, when I started, before I came into real estate, I had a background functioning like a small ad agency. Like, I got involved in radio in 1971 and did commercials, did commercials for what was then a progressive rock station. And I had, because was so well known, I had different companies that would hear me on the air, come to me and would offer to pay me to do their ads. And so I wrote and produced radio ads that were successful for a number of businesses. So it's not like I didn't have a background in that. When a buddy of mine had a morning radio show. It was basically a comedy-based morning radio show. He got me to come in and be there a couple times a week to sort of zane out with me. And the manager made me a deal that they would give me 10 free radio ads a week for my business in exchange for original content comedy, these fake radio commercials for non-existent businesses that they could run exclusively on their station. Now, I had 10 free ads a week, and I had a background in writing ads and producing ads that worked. It took us 1 year of trial and error to make the phone ring one time. We kept changing the ad and changing the ad. I went around everybody I could find anywhere in America. They said, you know, we had a successful radio ad. I got their copy. I put my name where their name was, ran the ad. No calls. Apparently, a successful ad was people would go, their friends call them up and go, hey, heard your ad. I'm not making this up.
Awesome.
So when we finally got the phone to ring, I asked the woman, but I didn't get a sale, by the way. I didn't get an appointment. I just got a phone call. And I said, what made you decide to call? Well, the thing you said I could cancel if I wasn't happy. Fantastic, thank you. That's in my ad still today. Then we found, sell it yourself while it's listed. That's in the ad. We kept experimenting. It took us about 30 days of trial and error after we knew what the buttons were to have an ad that worked. We have a version of that ad on today. I mean, if you think of it, all these years later. And then we've been copied. Our radio and TV ads have both been copied all around the country. In most cases, I actually helped the other agent produce the ad. But my point is that the fact now we know what works and we know what doesn't work. And we're not experimenting with like running ads. People say it takes one radios, tape salesman will tell you you have to do it for 90 days. Nope. I can test a station in 1 week. I can test any station in 1 week, and either you have the wrong station or bad ad copy or bad delivery, one of the three. There is no other answer. And if I spent $1,000, I knew this station works, or nope, it's a nonsense station, move on. So that was the thing for us. I hope I answered that question. Was there something I didn't answer?
Yeah, well, you know, in our pre-interview, you'd mentioned, you know, the wording in these ads and these calls to action are so critical. Like, for example, you said, oh, you don't want a CMA? How about a right price analysis instead? Oh, okay, you want that, right? I love it. It's fantastic.
Well, it's really critical on what you say to someone, and that's why my message to new agents is if you get in front of people and talk to them, like really and truly, if I'm talking to a brand new agent, and the first thing I would ask him is how many people would recognize you on site? Like if you walked up, they would go, hi, they would be happy to see you. If somebody could answer that question with at least 100 people, my answer to them would be make a list of who they are, like right, if you don't know their whole name, but how you could go see them, where are they? Where, if you went to see them, where would you go? And make that list, and then get something. Doesn't matter what the something is. It could be a sports thing. It could be a recipe. I would feel stupid giving out a recipe because I don't cook, but you understand. It could be a list of libraries and put your name and your picture and your phone number on it. But something you could pop in and hand to them and just say, I was in the area. I wanted to stop by and leave you one of these. And the reason you go, what is one of these? Something that you would like if someone gave one to you. The reason I say that is that way you won't feel phony handing them out. Like if it's something you'd go, God, if somebody gave me one of these, this little list of whatever the hell it is, I'd put it on my refrigerator. Perfect. That's what you want to pass out with your name and picture. And pop in on every single one of those. Don't call them. Do not call them. Go see them. Go where they are, see their face, and hand them one. I just say, I was in the area. I just wanted to stop by and leave one of these with you. I won't stay. I just want, and in fact, turn to leave. And then pause, just like sort of a Columbo. Hey, by the way, do you know anybody that wants to buy or sell a house? If you do, please keep me in mind. I would be honored if you would tell me, use your name. I will drop everything to take good care of it. And then get the hell out. That would generate business. And go see people. Like, what do you say to them? Well, it depends on the person. Like, there isn't this one, I'll tell you, say this. Always say, some people won't want to hear that crap. Somebody else, like some people, what? If you ask them, like if some people want to buy a house, what's important to them? A big yard or small yard, or you'd have to ask them. But if you find out what's important to that person, you'd know what to say. And nothing's going to be a substitute for talking to a lot of people. Nothing.
Good point, Russell. You know what? And there's so much wisdom in what you just said. See, there's one question that realtors are asked all the time, and they fumble the ball almost every time.
Uh-huh.
And the question is, oh, you're in real estate? How's the market? And most realtors, they'll say something like, oh, it's tight in the lower end, or a lot of inventory in the upper end, or whatever the case is, and they have their canned response because they're not listening to what the person's saying.
Good, yes.
So, okay, here's my input. Somebody says, how's the market? And it probably happens 2, 3, 5 times a week, right? Then you turn around and you say, well, it really depends.
That's exactly right.
Why are you asking? Are you looking to buy a home, sell a house,
yes,
or invest in real estate?
Yes, what you just said is exactly correct. How's the market? My answer is, for who?
Right.
Like, are you how's the market if you're trying to buy a house in our area for 150? How's the market if you're trying to sell one for? It's a different market.
Yep.
And one of the things that I've recently discovered that I don't know how I was blind to it is the number one thing that the public actually wants from a realtor is market knowledge. Like that, there just isn't something that would make them more wanting to talk to you than market knowledge. Well, how do you get it? By seeing the market.
There you go.
By going out there and seeing the market. If you get people that take statistics that you don't even quite understand and then publish them, or they get them from someone else, but when you look the market over, because to learn something, I don't know, how would you learn to drive a car? How about this? Get in the car, touch the steering wheel, let go of the steering wheel, touch the knob. You understand? You're not going to just, well, I read a book and I'm really good at it.
Yeah. And by the way, there's no such thing as a good market or a bad market, right?
Right.
Inventory is down. Is it a good market or a bad market? Well, it could be good for the seller. Is it good for the buyer? Well, no, because prices are being bid up above request price. Now, in a down market, high inventory market, is it a good market or bad market? Well, if you're a buyer, hey, it's a great market, right? If you're a seller, it kind of sucks, right? So no such thing. The market that matters the most, guys, is the one between your ears, right? That 6 inches between your ears is the most.
I couldn't agree more with that, Sean. The idea, and sometimes you have agents, not sometimes, you often have agents, that they will focus on something. I mean, I've heard at least 1,000 times from agents, well, Zillow's going to take over the industry and put us out of business. And I'm thinking, so they're going to start selling all their leads to themselves? Like, is that their plan? Like, they own search. That's the deal. Live with it. They have more real estate search than everyone else combined in the conversation, and that's not going to change. So what? They're not in the house selling business. They're in the lead selling business.
That's exactly right. Well, and there's some ways that we can win the battle at the sign, right? You don't want them going to this big box retailer of leads, right? Rather, you got to win the battle at the sign. So what could you do specifically out there to cause attention to that sign? Are you using long code SMS text capture? Because people love to text instead of jump on Zillow. And if you win the battle there, guys, then you win the battle. Really that simple, right? So a couple of questions are piling in here on the chat box. And by the way, go to the chat box, guys. Type in your questions. I'm going to rapid fire them at Russell here in a few minutes. There's one that came in that I thought was interesting. It says, with the advances in technology, social media, web, do you still believe that radio ads are still a better method?
Better than what? They're better for me than some social media crap. But I use Facebook strictly to disseminate my fantastic jokes I find every day. So,
if you just get a chance, follow Russell on Facebook because he is hilarious. Maybe a little inappropriate at times.
Not a little, very over the top. But my point is, you go, how do I say this? Do I think you can get business from social media? Hell yes. Do I think you can get business from Facebook? Hell yes. Do I think that if that's your number one source of business, you're only not doing that much business? Again, hell yes. So I think that if you're not willing to pick up the phone or go call on people,
right.
You will be stuck and stymied without enough business.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's an exception to that statement. What I think the biggest problem with Zillow, and it's the same problem with Open Door, with OfferPad, and all these different companies that is they spook agents. Agents are constantly going, oh, that's going to put us out of business. Oh my God, if they're in town, if Redfin comes to town, we're screwed. We won't be able to conduct. Not if Redfin. Redfin isn't even a big player in Seattle. Like, you understand?
Yeah.
It's like, and I don't care who comes to town. Like, either you know what you're doing or you don't know what you're doing. And if you know what you're doing, do it. And if you don't, find out what to do correctly. Like, real estate success is not some, my God, it's mysterious, or people who sell a lot of houses. They're a different type of being, possibly not even from this part of the universe. Like, no, they're people who just learned how to generate business.
No doubt about that. No doubt. So many people, they get concerned, they worry, they place their energy, their focus on things that are completely out of their control.
Correct.
Guys, here's my input. And what Russell's trying to say too is focus on what you can control.
There you go.
Not everything else. I mean, how many times do people stress about, the buyer's financial position, their credit score, how much cash they have down, or the seller's motivation, or how much equity they have in the home? You can't control that.
No.
What you can control is how many calls you make a day.
There you go.
How many people you speak with per day. How often you practice your scripts and your dialogue so that it comes across smooth and eloquent and you come across with confidence, right? These are all the things within your control. And when you give an inordinate amount of time to the things you can control versus the things you can't, it has a massive impact on your psychology, your energy.
I couldn't agree more. Focus on what you want more of, not on, oh my God, I don't want that.
Right.
Fixate on that then.
Yeah, so I've formulated some opinions about social media marketing, especially as it relates to real estate, obviously, because of what I get to do every single day. And I was driving up to Dallas from Austin last week, getting ready to present our brand new, cutting edge, unparalleled by anything in our industry, the SOAR program, SOAR. It's an acronym for Success Other Agents Realize. And it's based on what I learned from people like Russell and the Mark Spains of the world and Greg Harrelson and Lee Brown and all of that. We've assembled this into a package that is so amazing that I'm just so excited about. Yet nevertheless, I partnered with a guy named Jay Izzo. He's the author of Got Social Mediology. He's also a partner in a real estate firm on the East Coast where he and his team will do over 450 transactions per year. It's part of the Linda Craft team, and he's married to Linda Craft, and he does all their social media marketing. Yet a substantial amount of their business comes from social media, yet not social media marketing. So I asked him, why is that? I mean, how is it that you...
I'd like to know.
Yeah. He said, many agents, they forget that social media is social, and they leave out the social. And he said, Sean, there is no plausible or positive ROI on ad spend on Facebook for real estate agents. And why is that? Well, because it's a service-based industry. So you're never going to do a lot of business on Facebook ads. That's for darn sure. He told me this, and this was so powerful, resonated so deeply, that Facebook, it's all about the relationship, right? Remember, it's supposed to be social. Now, I've been guilty of, putting the icon ads and the SOAR ads all over Facebook. And guys, they get very few comments, shares, likes, and things like that. Yet then, my son had a birthday last week. It's 18th birthday. And I did a Facebook Live post with him. And man, I got to tell you, got so many shares, so many likes, because that was social. And here's where the magic really happens. It's not so much in what you post. I mean, Russell, how many times do we think, oh, what am I going to post now? What am I going to post today? What can I do to drum up more business? It's really not about what you post. In fact, people hate you clogging up their news feeds with pictures of houses. They just hate it. Rather, it's about what you comment on. When you go to your clients, your past clients, your prospects, and you give them social validation to their own life and their own post, that's where you're going to get business from, guys, more than anything else. And I think your comment to post ratio should probably be 20-1. 20 comments to every post that you do, at least, if not more. At least that's my 2 cents. There you go. How do you feel about that, Russell?
I actually agree. It's fantastic. It's not something I'm doing, but hearing it, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense because the whole thing is relationships there. And no, I agree with everything you said.
Good job. So, Russell, let's do me a favor real quick. Let's rewind the tape. What year did you get into real estate sales?
1978.
1978. Very good. And did you have just amazing success right from the get-go?
I actually had my first year pretty darn good success. I sold about 18 houses and then wound up doing this commercial deal that I just fell into because I was too stupid to not do it. And it was about a $4.5 million deal.
Wow.
So yes, and then I took the money that I earned and used it essentially for the down payments on expensive things. I'm not making this up. And the following year, the market crashed completely, and my income was cut in half, and I couldn't live on what I was making. But yes, and then I struggled mostly sort of from deal to deal, but I did not become really stably successful until I became a lister. That was the thing. And initially, it was a difficult transition, but it's what I did, and that was a turning point. I'm not taking a buyer. I'm not doing this. I'm going to only list.
And that was in 1993, and that's really when that model was just getting started with the buyer agency. Because I tell people all the time, I think I'm not 100% sure yet. I think I was the very first buyer's agent on the face of the planet, and that's only because I didn't know any better. Right?
You were the first. You were the most successful one at the time that I'd ever heard of anywhere in the country. You were breaking like 100 deals a year.
Right.
As a buyer agent, which was just literally unheard of. I mean, if there was someone else in the United States that did it, I'm not aware of it. So
right. That's happening these days. There's no doubt about that. That's good stuff, man. Good stuff. So let's go back to 1993. Mm-hmm. What caused you to make the decision to not work with buyers anymore?
Well, because I was living, here's how I would say it. If you look at it logically, how many customers could you take care of at once? Like, let's say you were decent at hustling up deals. And what my life consisted of back then was having no customers, going out hustling up some customers, which most agents know how to do. They don't know what they just did. They just go do it, but they don't really have it. And it's normally, if you wanted to give a name to what that is, to hustle up the customers, it would essentially be contacting people in their previously met database. Even if they don't have a database, that's what they actually did, for the most part, to hustle up that business.
Yep.
You would get 2 or 3 deals, get them into escrow, and then whatever I was doing to hustle up the business stopped completely while I fiddled around closing those deals.
Right.
And I would repeat that pattern endlessly. If you're an amazingly balanced agent, you might be able to work 3 buyers at the same time. If you're astounding, possibly for a week or 2, you might be able to work 4 or something. But that's sort of stretching it. Most people, 2 buyers, and their days is filled. You could have 15 listings at the same time, not have an assistant, not have any overhead, and go right on living and so forth. So you could actually have more business at the same time if you had sellers. But the reason sellers, because I've talked to thousands of agents who I don't really like sellers. I like buyers better. Why wouldn't you like buyers better? You're going to do all the work. They don't have to pay you. You can talk about the buyer paying the lister. It's not going to ever happen. Somebody who wants to remove the commission from MLS, then people will buy straight from the lister. So it's such a stupid idea. So my answer would be, why wouldn't they like it? You're going to say, I'll go out and work for you for free. The seller will pay me. I'll do everything you need. Just call me whenever you want to see a house, and I'll treat you right and take care of you and drive you around. Sure, you're terrific. Come on in. Now let's just flip it around, and you're a listing agent. So let's just say the house is worth $300,000. and you go in and go, hi, I'd like to sell your house. I'm going to put a sign in your yard and a lockbox and check with you once a week. I'd like you to give me $18,000.
Right.
I maintain you'll need a better presentation than that.
This is true. And many people just aren't confident enough. They don't have a great listing presentation. They're not salespeople. They don't understand the psychology of selling people on doing business with you. And that gut gauge keeps them, from closing, right? Like they know they should, yet, boy, I just want to look good. I want to be right. I want to be that nice agent, and I don't want anybody to get upset with me.
Yeah. So it's a different business. I found when I switched over from working buyers to only going after sellers, I could use the same business cards. My license with the real estate department was the same. Everything else was different. Everything else was different. Where buyers, you spend a couple of days in the car with them, sort of chumming, almost like, if you like them, sort of almost like a small party atmosphere, stopping to eat. And it's fun. They're nice people, and it's fun. Selling, going on sellers, number one, I wouldn't call it endless fun. I would describe it more as lonely. It's odd hours. Everyone would like a realtor if it's free.
Yeah.
The only ones that are going to pay you are sellers. And they don't really want to pay you. They just have to if they want to get the service. And you're never talking someone into selling their home. What you're talking them into or presenting is why they just use me, not them. And some agents think their only value proposition is I'll do it for less.
Right.
Okay, but the agents that go down that path, one for one, are going down a failure path. Because you just get so low, you go, well, if you do it for practically nothing, you get the business. Awesome. So what?
Right. Right. So let's get into some skill set here real quick. What do you say to a seller who says, well, Russell, I'd list with you, yet you got to drop your commission?
Well, I understand how you feel. We have a graduated scale for the commission. Our commission, this is all in writing. You can see it on my website. I'll give you a copy of it in writing. Our commission's a sliding scale. It goes 6, 4, 1, or 0. So the most you'll ever pay is 6. That's if I'm paying an outside agent 3. And you can say I'm paying it with your money, but they can't come after you. They can come after me for the commission. If one of my agents writes the offer, it's 4%. If you find your own buyer and want us to handle everything, we'll charge you 1%. And if you found your own buyer and they're paying cash, I don't know, you know from church, and you don't need me, just call. We'll cancel a listing. There's no charge. And if you're not happy at any time, you can fire me. You're not stuck in a contract. So if you want out, you're out. But I don't care who you compare me to. The fact that someone else will do it for less does not necessarily even begin to imply that you will net more money. So whether you're talking to somebody who will do the commission lower, or you're talking to Open Door or whoever, I don't care. In most cases, you'll be better off with us. Because one of the things you'd have to see is in this market, there's a scarcity of inventory. And if you list it with an ordinary agent, let's just say for conversation's sake, because we see this all the time, they take the listing on Thursday, put it in the system on Friday, and Saturday morning you get a full price offer. That agent's going to call you. I don't care who you hire. That agent's going to call you and tell you, we have a full price offer. Congratulations. I'll be over to get it signed. And my response to that is, please define full price. Please, I want to get how you arrived, because isn't that the number you and the seller agreed to? Is that actually the full price? If there's a scarcity of inventory in that price range, it's almost never the full price. So what we would do in sharp contrast is we're going to call the seller, call you and tell you we have the offer and don't take it yet. We're going to collect offers, and then we're going to call each one of them back. And we're going to go, we now have 6 other offers. Would your buyer like to change theirs? And the seller's going to deal only with highest and best. And you let us know if you want to stay in. You can go, well, won't that piss off some people? Won't piss off our seller.
Well, you produce your responsibility too, obviously, right?
But what my goal doesn't piss someone off, but I'm making a deal with the seller. I'll represent their interests. I'm going to represent their interest, not mine. So if the house was listed for $219 and it could have gone out the door at $230, I think it's malpractice to tell the seller to take the offer right away. You can go, but they got a full price. I don't care. Okay, charmed. They're better off with us. And that's just an example. And you'll want to come up with, for you, why should they do business with you? Seriously. Like, you're a coach. There are maybe 100 real estate, I don't know how many, but there's maybe 10 high-profile coaches. You, if you're talking to someone who's trying to think, should they come with you or so-and-so? I'm positive, Sean, just because I know you from talking to you, you could give that person numerous compelling reasons with conviction they should use your coaching program over whoever the hell it is.
Along with results as well, yes.
Yeah, seriously though, but you're not sitting there like with some insincere BS or just hope I can get them to sign up so I can screw them over. There's national coaches that do crap just like that.
Yeah.
You're not that guy. You're just seriously. But there are people that is their business proposition. Get them to sign up something. But if you're delivering a real service, like you're doing something for someone, not just as a gag, but for real.
Right.
Doesn't mean you can't charge a nice fee. Seriously, it just simply means there's an exchange. I'm going to do something for you. Yeah, you're going to pay me, but I'm going to do something for you, and you're going to be happy that you got me.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. And if you're an agent listening to this, well, how can I come to that? Start by going, how can you help that? What can you do for it? Mm-hmm. And stop. So, well, oh my God, the other guy sells more than me. So what? Are you an honest person? I'm talking not you to you. I'm talking to the people listening. Are you an honest person? Will you treat them right? Will you ever knowingly make a false statement? If the answer to that is no, why shouldn't they hire you? You don't have to know everything to get the business. You just have to be willing to go connect with that customer. If they ask you a question, you go, I don't know the answer to that. I bet you know someone that does, your broker or somebody could go, or more experienced, the answer is blah, blah. You don't have to know everything to succeed. You really don't. You just have to be willing to contact customers.
That's right. That's right. And Jim Rohn said that we're paid in direct proportion to the value that we provide. So what we're talking about is adding value to them. And undoubtedly, people, we in this industry, we're paid based on our ability to negotiate for our clients, right? So the better you can negotiate, the more you're worth. I mean, if that weren't 100% true, then why on earth would the Fortune 50 companies across the world pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for the top negotiators?
Yeah.
Not all agents are the same, right? And what you need to do is find out what is your unique value proposition. What makes you stand out the most? Mm-hmm. And then you'll be able to collect those certificates of appreciation with presidents' faces on them, right? I love it. So tell me, Russell, I believe that success is really defined not by the achievement in and of itself. I believe that success is defined by the challenges, the trials that a person has to go through in order to achieve it. Yes. So share with me some of maybe, I'll never call them failures, just learning experiences. What would you say some of those have been in your real estate career?
Well, let's just take learning to list. When I first started taking listings, I was a complete doofus. Like, I mean, seriously. Was I good at it? No, I was terrible at it. There wasn't anything that I could have pointed to going, well, I certainly did that well. So if you say, there wasn't something that I go, oh, I'm so proud. The only thing I can take pride in is that I persisted. And it's a matter of trial and error. One of the interesting things is in order to get smart at anything, you have to be willing to be stupid. Because if you take on an area, like if you're going to learn to do something, this doesn't make you stupid as a being, but you're going to be stupid on that subject when you first learn to do it.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is. It won't just come naturally. Like people are seldom born. We go, this one's an amazingly accomplished pianist. That one's a doctor. Look, he knows all about medical. No, you learn it. And there's something about the real estate business where people somehow, including in the business, have this idea that, well, there's nothing to it. I'll do it. It's so simple. Well, the fact that something doesn't look you get in the business, and all of a sudden, most agents fail out of the business. 13 out of 14 agents are out of the business in 18 months. Why? Because you look at some of the people who stayed, you wouldn't go, well, he's a genius or she's one of the most remarkably smart people on earth. No, some of those people are dopes, but they're still successful because they learned how to generate business. Mm-hmm. Just that one thing.
No doubt about that.
Yeah.
So Russell, what I want to do, I just want to do a really quick screen share with these guys, and I just want to walk them through a quick model. Okay. So verify for me that you can see that pyramid.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So guys, I look at this, and what Russell's really describing is stepping up to that level of mastery. Uh-huh. When we jump into the business, frankly, we don't know what we don't know, right? Then we get to the position of, okay, now I know what I don't know, and you feel a little bit inadequate, right? Those that have tenacity, then they can get to a position, well, I know what to do now that I know it, yet I have to think about it. And then they can finally bring it to that level of what I would call mastery, or just a habitual type action, right? So in this model, the base of this pyramid is the foundation. Now the foundation, gang, that's you. That is your knowledge, your mindset, your skills, your habits. These are the things that are going to propel you toward the level of mastery. So here's my input. A lot of people, they jump into business and they go right to that next phase, which is concentration, focused on filling their pipeline. And, practice isn't something we did, it's something we do. So consistently sharpening your knowledge, your skills, your attitudes, your habits. Now, by the way, there's not a single person on this webinar that doesn't buy into that. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here to learn from Russell. There's no doubt about it. So then we jump into concentration. Now, this is where most breakdowns in business occur. It's because the effort being expended doesn't seem to match the reward. And as I always say, instant gratification, well, it's just not fast enough anymore, is it? So concentration phase, those with tenacity will actually break through into momentum. Yet it's a fun place to be. It's where everything's firing on all cylinders. It's also a terrifying place to be. And Russell already talked about it today, where you get a few deals under contract and then you start babysitting the transactions. You're holding the hands of the prospect and you stop concentrating. So I see it happen all the time. An agent jumps from concentration on a momentum, and then they fall back down to concentration. And then they get into momentum. And it's like February, they made a lot of money. March, they made nothing. April, they made a lot of money. May, they made nothing. And it's this up and down, the cyclical, it's a short road to burnout, right? So from momentum, though, once we're there, we've got to get you to the position of leverage. And leverage comes in 4 basic categories. The first is technology. So how are you leveraging through technology to make your life easier, to communicate more aggressively with your clients? The next would be models. How about your lead generation model, your lead follow-up model, your economic models, and things of this nature? Your systems. And a system is a standardized process that produces a consistent and predictable result. Russell mentioned that I'd close over 100 buyer sides per year, and that's exactly right, because it was systemized. I did it exactly the same way every single time, and I got a consistent and predictable result, modified, by the way, only based on the natural behavioral tendencies of my prospect. So the fourth area, of leverage is people. So in 1993, you discovered that you didn't want to work with buyers anymore. They were time consuming. It took, you can't control a lot in that process, right, Russell?
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
So you leveraged through a person who could take your buyer leads and convert and close them, right?
Mm-hmm.
No doubt about it. So let's talk about this leverage phase right now, Russell, and tell me about your team a little bit. How are you leveraging through people to accomplish more?
Well, the model is, for that, has to be the millionaire real estate agent. Like of all the books ever written, that one is still the bestseller. That one's still the most important when it comes to the model for going from a single agent to going big and having a business. Interestingly enough, what most people don't know, I'm one of the 15 agents. I think this part people know, but I'm one of the 15 agents that Gary and Dave and Jay used in the book as models.
Yep.
The reason I'm saying that, though, some people have the idea, including a lot of people with Keller Williams, that Gary and Dave and Jay sat down, wrote the book, and then just got pictures of us and stuck them in the book and got a little quotes from us to stick through the book. Actually, the other way around. They interviewed quite a few agents. One that's notable, there was a woman in New Mexico who was interviewed, and her commissions the year that interview was done, I think, was 2002. What was amazing, she'd earned $4.5 million, her share, in commissions. She didn't make the cut to be in the book. This is an important point. This to me is the important point, because she did not have a replicatable business model. She had 87 clients. She wasn't taking on new ones, and her entire business was buying and selling houses to them. That's it. She didn't want any new customers. She couldn't handle them. So what became in the book is all these different numbers. It was the things that the 15 of us, like me, Bill Ryan, Mike Mendoza, what did we all have in common? That's what the book showed. So it looked at the pattern. So the first thing that was clear is the first thing you get rid of. You don't go out and hire a buyer agent. That's actually a mistake, because a buyer agent will generate more paperwork for you. And the very first thing you want to get rid of is paperwork. So you get rid of all paperwork and stop screwing with it so you can focus on dollar productive activities. The second thing you get rid of is buyers. If you're the rainmaker. And the last thing is leverage. Like now you're talking, but if you're talking about a pattern, because there's a finite, like what you did, doing 100 deals in a year on buyer sides. Do I think most people could ever do that? No. No, for you to do it, even for 1 year, would demonstrate a level of physical fitness. Well, it really does. Far beyond. I mean, it's not just mental fitness and having the right attitude. It would be a hell of a high level of physical fitness to have that kind of stamina. Yeah. And most people aren't at that level. I don't know that you'd want to do that again at your age now. But seriously.
I probably wish it on many people, that's for sure.
But you were young and physically strong.
Right.
And I'm not making fun of that. So you want to look at something like what's a replicatable system. And so when to have something viable, see, when most agents, their business is a series of random flukes. Whether they got a deal off Facebook, or they were at the grocery store in the produce section and met someone and started talking to them, or they'd say, well, I was at golf and I met this guy, and next thing you know, 3 months later, he bought a house from me. What a miracle.
Not duplicatable necessarily, right?
But if you play more golf, would this be a business model? So you'd have to have something that you could do over and over and over. So I got a deal from the Kiwanis Club. But can you get enough deals from a Kiwanis Club to sustain your business? Like just that one, unless you're going to make your whole system. I joined every Rotary Club in town. I joined every Kiwanis Club in town. You'd have to have something you could do over and over and over. And I don't think there's the stuff, I don't even think it's a secret. If you don't have a database, get one. You could use you could use almost anything. There's probably a dozen of them, but I'm not selling databases or talking about which ones are better. Because I remember one time I was moderating a panel at Star Power, and Pat Strachese was there, and anyway, there was all these like really super high producing agents, and some guy in the audience asks what kind of database they were using. And one woman goes, I don't know, something my assistant handles. The other one said, I don't think we have one, but we are thinking of getting one. And the third one said something like that. Hey, you want to repeat the question, like which database, which transaction system? And I said, I think you've missed the point here. Here you have 3 great agents who don't know. So that's apparently not their focus. So some stuff, I'm not saying don't have one. I'm not saying don't learn it. I'm saying your focus would need to be Go get customers. Go get customers. Get more customers. You go, I got 3, get 3 more, get 6, keep getting customers. If you do nothing, you'll say, well, I have a bunch of them now. Here's the good news and the bad news. You go, they're loyal. Yes, but they'll eventually die. Like Cadillac, their business was going down the tubes because their customers were old and dying. The guys that were buying it, and only the Escalade saved them. That's the fact. Saved the brand.
That's right.
So you never get to the point where you aren't constantly looking for new business. Always want a deal, never need one. There's a valuable lesson.
Yeah, say that one more time.
Yeah, always want a deal, never need one. If I could say one of the most important things I've ever learned, one of the most important things I've ever been able to teach or impart to other agents, if you don't like a customer, I mean that literally, don't do business with them. If they seem like an asshole, leave.
Yeah.
Just, if you're comfortable in your own skin most of the time, and you're around certain people, you just go, I don't know, I just don't feel myself. Get the hell out. Well, I need a deal. Well, then you need to be a slave because you're going to really enjoy that relationship. And say, well, I want the money. If you want money, don't do business with them. If you feel weirded out being around them, get the hell out, go get a different customer. And get off this kick that customers are scarce or hard to get. Change your mind about that because they're not.
Agreed. You know, a lot of people, they do a bunch of business. And what I found that they all have in common is they're not afraid to ask for it.
There you go.
No doubt about it. So as you all know, I'm a real estate coach, and we coach you to a high level of productivity and profit. We implement models, systems, and tools that are cutting edge and proven best practices. So Russell, if you don't mind, I'm just going to ask.
Yeah.
So those of you guys watching this, if you're looking for a great coach, it certainly wouldn't hurt to hear what I do to help you coach to a higher level.
There you go. There you go.
So I'll ask you to just drop me a quick email. Send it to Sean, S-H-O-N, which, Russell, that's the correct way to spell Sean.
S-H-O-N is the only correct way to spell Sean.
Right.
All other spellings are stupid.
At iconcoachinre.com. So thank you for letting me do that. And just had to practice what we preach, right?
Yeah, there you go.
That's good stuff. So we got a couple of minutes left, Russell. Just what are your parting thoughts? What words of wisdom do you want to impart upon all of these people?
Don't fixate on any one customer. Customers are as abundant as you will decide they are. They'll be as easy to get as you decide they are. And there's no substitute for getting customers, just none. And it's that willingness to reach, like what you just saw Sean do, reaching for your business, saying, I'd like to do business with you. If you just go out and ask for the business and go out, but it's not like, well, last month I asked a guy.
And he said no.
No, and I was sort of stopped. The truth is, you ask a lot of people, and most of them aren't going to say yes. I want you to get that. You ask a lot of people, and most of them are going to say no or ignore you, and they don't care that you're in real estate. So what? Go to the next one. You're not looking for, you're like, oh, I wanted that one guy. He lived 2 doors down. I wanted him to approve of me. You just screwed yourself. If you fixate on that one person, if you had to get their sale, you don't. There's no certain sale you have to get. Keep asking lots of people for business. That would be a thing. And if you don't like them, you don't need to do business with them. That's the beauty of this art industry. If you feel like I crave a certain amount of insanity, I like being abused, you'll get enough of it on cross sales anyway. So don't worry.
Well, one of the things that you've been able to do very successfully, model for all of us, is to really give up that need to look good and be right.
Yeah.
A lot of agents, they're pushed and pulled around by their prospects. Guys, let's face it, you do this every day of your life. You are the professional. You are the expert. Yet these people are going to sell a house once every, 7 or 8 years, and they're going to tell you how to do your job.
There you go.
Really? So, and I think what is causing all of that is this need to look good, to be right, to be liked by everybody you come in contact with, right? And what Russell's telling all of us is that no, you don't. you stay true to your own vision, or you'll become part of somebody else's.
There you go. Perfect. This has been fun, Sean. Seriously.
Yeah, no kidding, buddy. Well, I appreciate reconnecting with you after all those years at Star Power. I mean, we met 25 years ago, and it was nice to circle back and spend some time with you in the pre-interview and certainly on our Icon webinar. So real quick, Russell, tell them where you're at so they can send you referrals.
I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. If you go to nohasslelisting.com, and if you just type it into Google, don't worry, I own the different misspellings land at No Hassle Listing, and you can send me an email, call us, whatever, but just remember No Hassle Listing. If you Google my name, it'll come right up too. That's the #1 search term for people coming to my website is my name. So.
Way to go. Well, you've created this celebrity status with the television ads, the radio ads, and everything else. By the way, real quick, do you do anything with direct mail?
Yes, we send out, we have 4 zip codes we farm. We send out, I think it's around 56 or 57,000 newsletters a month. So no, that's actually been one of our successful actions. I wish I'd started it sooner, is the geographic farming. We decided to do that rather than to add some other TV station in it. It just takes longer to make it work. But if you look at a profile of most successful agents around the country, if you took the top 1,000, the real ones, not some of those nut job stats that like I sold 27 zillion last week, but the real numbers that agents are doing, you'd find that the profile, the typical top agent, most of them are geographic farmers. And they're listers with a listing-based business. So there's something to learn there to do it successfully, but don't expect an instantaneous success. But I would say that'd be something to know.
Excellent. And out of curiosity, what's the budget for 56 or 57,000 newsletters per month?
I think that runs about 18 total. We have a few ads in there, but I think it's around total right now 18 or 19,000 a month.
Okay. And what's your ROI on something like that?
I honestly don't even know. I couldn't, because we are on television, so we might get a listing. They heard us on the radio, they saw us on TV, and they got the newsletter. I don't know that I could give a direct answer to it.
Gotcha. Now, when you started doing that, you didn't start sending out 56,000 overnight.
Right? When I started in radio, my first year where we were paying, I got the first 3 years we were getting free ads. And then when we lost that deal, the first year I was on radio, where we had to pay, I spent $20,000. So I was a genius. And the next year spent $40,000. And then I thought, this is a no-brainer. So I signed a contract the third year with that station for $80,000. And found out about the laws of diminishing returns.
Well, there is a point, right? No doubt. There is a point. Yet here's what I found about all the icons I've interviewed throughout the duration is that when they find something that works, they look at scaling it as quickly as possible. So I can only imagine your 56 or 57,000 direct mail pieces per month in this newsletter format probably started around 500 or 1,000, right?
Well, we're using something that's called Discover Publications, and I'm really happy with them. We've had it for a long time, and it looks like a little paper, and we do, actually Wendy does the lead article, and I'd like full credit for always picking the graphic that goes with that article. So Wendy can say, well, she wrote the article. And I go, yeah, you did, Wendy. But the article wouldn't be as nearly as finished as it is with that graphic I choose, okay? So keep that in mind when you see the paper. But we didn't start there at all. It was gradually moving, just finding something that works and how can we do more of it. That's what you said, scaling. There's no question about it.
Right. So a question just came in real quick. Do you have any marketing on your car itself? Like, do you have something like that?
No.
Okay.
If I want to cut someone off in traffic, I have the right to do it. If somebody needs to be flipped off or screamed at, I don't want to have a thing like that. Plus, if somebody, needs, if I have to shoot them, I don't want somebody like, oh, that was that Russell Shaw just took a shot at me. That's not going to look good. So, no, I don't have any marketing on my car.
All right, buddy. Oh, thank you. I needed that today, bud. Way to go. All right, everybody. Well, again, if you're at all interested in investigating how to work with Icon in some capacity, whether it be our Icon Accelerator program, gang, it's just an investment on your part of $97 per month. You get to spend 4 hours with me every single month in a similar situation on Skype, or excuse me, Zoom, where I share a nice slide deck with you. We do some Q&A. Again, just $97 a month, or one-on-one starts at $500 a month. We'd love to earn your business. We'd love to work with you and add value to you. So Russell, thank you for allowing us to do that today through you, adding value to all of us.
It's my pleasure, pal. Thank you.
All right. Talk soon, bud.
Bye-bye.